Hollywood just pulled off the most shameful plot twist of the decade, and nobody is getting away clean. The sudden, violent death of Charlie Kirk was already shocking enough, but before America could even catch its breath, SNL did the unthinkable. Not only did they greenlight a skit mocking a freshly murdered man, NBC rehearsed it, scripted it, and nearly put it on live TV as the country mourned. As details leaked, the outrage built to a fever pitch. The network's board had to intervene, not out of conscience, but out of raw, survival-level fear. But here's the real kicker. If the sketch hadn't gotten out, if backlash hadn't exploded online, SNL would have gone through with it. Would they have gotten away with it? Or did this time finally push Hollywood past its point of no return? Stay tuned, because what happened behind closed doors is more enraging, more revealing, and more viral than any skit SNL ever produced. Has Saturday Night Live, the comedy institution once famous for satirizing the powerful, now become the ultimate symbol of Hollywood's moral collapse? Let's dig into this cultural car crash, and don't blink, because with every new detail, this saga only goes darker. It started with a tragedy, the death of Charlie Kirk, a figure both polarizing and influential, gunned down in Utah in an event that stunned social media and newsrooms alike. As families released statements, communities gathered for memorials, and #Charlie Kirk. Funeral began trending. The nation expected at least a brief pause, a window of mourning, a period of respect, maybe for once, a break from the outrage cycle. That's not what happened. Instead, buried in the glitzy writers' rooms of SNL, the show's senior producers were making a very different calculation. In a move so cold, so strategic, and so loaded with malice, NBC's flagship sketch show began assembling not an homage, not a moment of silence, but a full-blown parody, roasting the dead for ratings. Lorne Michaels and his team spent days workshopping punchlines that painted Kirk as every villain in the network's playbook: misogynist, racist, transphobe, assembling the tired, lowest common denominator labels like props for a pyre. Journalists who got wind of the story tried to confirm details, but it wasn't until rehearsals that word got out. SNL was planning to lampoon Charlie Kirk days after his murder, while his family was still grieving, and the country was still in shock. It would have aired had the NBC board not stepped in, halting the segment at the last second with one clear motive: fear. Fear of a national boycott, fear of lawsuits, fear of torching whatever was left of SNL's battered reputation in a single, disgraceful night. Social media went DEFCON 1. Comments, quote tweets, and reaction videos started flooding the zone. Imagine if a beloved progressive or Hollywood favorite passed, and Fox News ran a skit mocking them the week of their funeral, one post read, racking up 1 million likes. But for Kirk, it's satire. The tribal lines exploded. Some ghoulish corners of the internet cheered. Most decent-minded people recoiled in horror. At the center of it all, SNL's writers glared at the board, claiming censorship and comedic bravery. But nobody outside the echo chamber bought it. As the details leaked, they only got more damning. This was no rogue joke. Scripts had been written, cue cards formatted, staging mapped. This was central to the show's week. A calculated, ratings-grabbing decision to push the envelope by mocking a man whose family hadn't even planned his memorial. When the board threatened to fire Lorne Michaels and kill the entire episode unless the segment was cut, SNL brass reportedly fought back, arguing that canceling the skit amounted to giving in to the mob. The institution that built its legacy on speaking truth to power was desperate to punch down on a corpse and cling to the last glimmers of cultural relevance by crossing a line other comedians refused to even approach. It's not an exaggeration. This is the darkest moment in SNL's history, a show that, for years, was already battling accusations of being bland, stale, and forced. But this move didn't just kill the humor, it murdered the legacy, exposing the rotten priorities underneath. Do not forget, this isn't the first time SNL played with the edge. Who could forget their disastrous, unfunny post-election sketches? The infamous Tom Hanks Black Jeopardy segment, the never-ending cycle of Trump hate and MAGA baiting. But even the most rabid partisans saw this for what it was: an assassination of decency, of empathy, of any sense of shared humanity left in American comedy. The backlash didn't stop at SNL. As industry watchdogs exposed NBC's scramble, word broke that South Park was also rewriting planned arcs roasting Kirk, deleting hours of animation to avoid the firestorm. Streaming giants and YouTube creators quietly pulled related segments. This wasn't an isolated embarrassment. It was a system-wide reckoning. For the first time in years, cancel culture was turned back on the architects themselves. The same late-night writers and executives who weaponized outrage couldn't stand the heat when the mob came for them. The result: shame-faced apology, clarification tweets, and emergency PR lockdown. Nobody wanting to be the face of a decision that attacked a murder victim for clicks. Here's the rawest irony. SNL, the institution that once claimed nothing is sacred, now proves that their own survival is. Faced with viral rage, advertiser mutiny, and threats of lawsuits, they waved the white flag, not out of remorse, but out of sheer terror at losing everything else. The same network that will mock, roast, and slander anyone for the right politics suddenly discovered the limits of comedy when the nation was watching. So, what does this mean for Hollywood? For the first time since the Weinstein reckoning, for the first time since Roseanne and Kevin Hart and all those so-called line crossers were canceled, a mainstream comedy brand, SNL itself, finally, publicly, and unmistakably got the boot from its own benefactor. Not quietly, not through back channels, not with plausible deniability, but with the board stepping in, scripts getting torched, and the cast left to fume as their own show, finally, got policed. This is bigger than Charlie Kirk. This is about a system where, for too long, elite media has tried to have it both ways, as champions of free speech and provocation, while shaming, firing, and blacklisting anyone who jokes at the wrong target. Now, the mask is gone. The public saw the script, viewers saw the rehearsal, and for all their claims of equal opportunity satire, everyone knows SNL would never dare run that skit for the other side. They targeted Kirk for one reason only, because, in their bubble, there were no consequences. Until today. Zoom out. For younger Americans, those plugged into meme culture, those burned out by legacy institutions, this is a John F. Kennedy moment. The kind of event that divides time into before and after. The day when SNL went from joke to disgrace, and when NBC became the biggest defender, not of decency, but of its own terrified brand image. South Park, itself notorious for boundary pushing, backpedaled. YouTube and TikTok creators dared each other not to post clips. Even the industry's coldest rivals understood. This one cost too much. There have been endless Hollywood scandals, unfunny late-night monologues, Oscars mired in political grandstanding, entire careers erased for bad jokes made in the wrong decade. But never before has a show looked so gleefully at the grave and tried to make us laugh. All for clicks, all for culture points, all for one desperate viral hit. SNL and NBC did this not because satire is dead, but because their own relevance is dying, and they knew only shock could bring them back, even if it meant sacrificing dignity entirely. So, here's the question. Where does the line get drawn? Is there anything sacred left in comedy? When the instinct to mock outpaces the impulse for even basic sympathy, has Hollywood finally destroyed not just the right, but everyone's trust? We're not just talking about a comedic misfire. We're witnessing the exposed circuitry of an industry with no soul left to save. In the end, every attempt SNL made at hiding, spinning, clarifying, only made the wound deeper. They didn't cancel the Kirk sketch because it was wrong. They canceled it because they were afraid. And that's the final, viral cherry on top. So, weigh in, right now. Did SNL cross a line that ends its legacy for good? Is this the breaking point where audiences say, enough, and tune out not just from old, tired comedy, but from Hollywood's entire sneering, sneaky playbook? Can there be forgiveness? Or is this a scandal that even an apology tour can't fix? One thing's certain, the mask is off, the damage is done, and for every fan, critic, or aspiring creator, the lesson is clear. If Hollywood laughs at death, it's only because it's terrified of being forgotten by the living. Drop your rawest reactions, sound off in the comments, and hit subscribe for more real talk on the scandals that shape the culture. Because this time, what happened to SNL won't just fade away after one news cycle. It's the new punchline. And this time, they laughed at themselves.